One of the biggest issues for the New York Islanders has been their inability to hold a lead. We're going to talk about why this problem exists and maybe some of the things the team can do about it. We've got all that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. One issue that has driven Islander fans crazy, not just this year, but really for the last few years, is this team's inability to hold a lead. It is maddening. And this year, I think it is worse than it has been recently. Let's break down how bad it's been thus far this season. The Islanders have held a 1-goal lead in the third period 6 times this year. 6 times through their shootout loss in Calgary on Tuesday night. They have blown the lead all 6 times. 6 for 6. Now, some of those games they did go on to win, either in overtime or in a shootout. But let's face it, this team has left a lot of points on the table. Last year, you look at the standings, and the Islanders led the league in loser points. And now, here we are, almost 20 games into the season, and the Islanders have 5 loser points. They're 7-5 through 19 games. No team in the league has more. And when you look at it, who are the teams who are closest to the Islanders? They generally are not good teams. The teams with 4 loser points right now in the West, there's only one, the San Jose Sharks. In the East, there's only one, the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team that is even behind the Islanders in the standings, a team that has played 2 more games than the Islanders, but has 1 fewer point. And when you break it down, getting these loser points, while important, and you've heard me talk about, this team needs 5 points on this 5-game road trip, and through 4 games, they've got 4. But the goal really was you hang close until this team gets a little healthier, and then you can, hopefully go on a little run and get into the playoff hunt. But blowing leads is so maddening because these are games that you had control over in a lot of ways. You had chances to win, and you blew it. And look, it happens. This is the greatest hockey league in the world. The players in the NHL are the most talented hockey players in the world, top to bottom. And the other team gets paid too. And sometimes you're playing against teams that are better than you are. And, you're going to have a bad night. There's going to be bad bounces. Okay, no team, when they have a goal lead or a lead in the third period, goes, 15-0-0. That doesn't happen. But you know what? They don't blow 6 leads in 6 chances. And there's a number of reasons why the Islanders struggle big time with holding leads. One of them is their transition is bad. And their ability to skate the puck out of their own zone effectively, or pass the puck, or clear the puck is one of their shortcomings. And it has been now for at least the last 2 or 3 years, maybe more. And it connects with a lot of other things, whether it's a lack of speed, whether it's a lack of hockey IQ on some of the guys. We talked about Noah Dobson and why he's not an elite defenseman yet at this stage of his career. And part of it is decision making, hockey IQ. He struggles with that often enough. Well, this team has to figure out, and Patrick Roy tried to emphasize this when he took over as the coach, but this team has to figure out a way to be more consistent at clearing the puck out of their own zone and transitioning from defense to offense. Another reason why holding leads has been a problem for this team is their lack of finish. And that comes down to a lack of scoring depth. And obviously, with Anthony Duclair and Matthew Barzal out of the lineup, it's harder. Okay, you're missing 2/3 of your top line. I get it. But this team doesn't have scoring depth. Now, the last few games, the third line has showed a little spark. Pierre Engvall playing better, getting goals in 3 straight games. That's helpful. But top to bottom, over the course of this season, a hot streak is one thing. Good players do things consistently. It's great that Pierre Engvall has scored a goal in 3 straight games. But if he has 6 goals at the end of the season, it's great that he's on the streak, but he's got to be productive. He's got to, there's got to be a certain amount of productivity from all of your lines. They don't have it. And the lack of ability to take advantage of the chances that they get in the third period to go from a 1-goal lead to a 2-goal lead, that factors into the equation as well. And the other thing that I think is a big factor is special teams. Special teams are a problem for this club. They don't take advantage of the power play opportunities that they get. You look at the Islanders as of when we're recording this, and, where do they rank on the power play? Next to last in the league, 12.3%, 31st on the power play. And the penalty kill, 31st, next to last in the league, only killing off 67.5% of power plays that opponents get. If you're able to score on the power play, those 1-goal leads become 2-goal leads. And if you can't kill a penalty in the third period, you're giving up goals to the opposing team. And when you add up, the errors that they make trying to transition from defense to offense, which leads to turnovers, which leads to scoring chances, that's a problem. The special teams is a problem. Not finishing is a problem. All of these things add up. The Islanders' failures in the third period are basically a microcosm for the reasons this team remains stuck in the muddy middle. A lack of offensive elite talent, top to bottom. Just not great coaching on special teams, or just not being able to be flexible enough to go to plan B when plan A is lacking. And special teams being just 31st in both power play and penalty kill. I doubt there is a team top to bottom with worse special teams in the NHL. And you're not going to be better than the muddy middle if you can't be better than that on special teams. You can't. Even if you're average on special teams, you can get away with it. The Islanders are not bad 5-on-5, statistically anyway. But overall, these are some of the major reasons why they're struggling. I mean, try something else on the power play and on the penalty kill. Penalty kill has to be more aggressive on the puck instead of being so passive. Every day, as for more than a year, I've been talking about moving without the puck, passing the puck quickly, trying to get the penalty killers out of position and tired, screening the goalie, going to the net. These are all the things I see them not doing consistently on the power play, and yet the results just stay the same. So these are some of the reasons why blown leads keep happening to this team. It is not a coincidence. Now the question becomes, is this team able and willing to fix it? And they need to be both. We'll see. Getting healthy will help a little bit, but let's face it, even before any of these players that are out now got hurt, all of these things were issues for the Islanders. It is part of the big picture problem that this franchise has. And they're not a bad team, but they're not a very good team. They are slightly above average. And when you consider that your team is slightly above average with a really great goaltending duo, that doesn't speak well for the rest of your roster. Hopefully they can improve in this area, but the blown leads are painful and frustrating and something that Islanders fans have had to live with for just a little too long. All right, we've got more to get to on today's show. We've got a couple of more mailbag questions that people sent in via X on a DM, so we're going to talk about those, answer some more of your questions. We'll preview tonight's game against the Detroit Red Wings as the Islanders close out this road trip. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, a defenseman who joined the Islanders in their third season of existence. He was a stay-at-home, big defenseman who really gave experience to a young team and helped the Islanders in the mid to late 70s go from a struggling team to a playoff team and a contender. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. And Islander fans, use your knowledge of the Islanders and of hockey to place some exciting bets on FanDuel. Check out the latest odds for tonight's game in Detroit on the FanDuel app. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time now has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events and sports teams even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And one of my favorite features on Game Time is the view from your seat. You go on the app and you could see a panoramic view from your seat before you purchase the tickets, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So let's go to the mailbag again. And I have questions from two different viewers or listeners. The first one is Paul from the UK. Hi, Gil. As a mailbag question, when you have time, I see that CNBC released the NHL team valuations. The Islanders were 16th. Wondered what you think the owners make of that. Paul, thank you for the question. And it's a good question. I think the Islanders owners will be happy to be 16th. If you remember, if you go back 5 years, let's say, the Islanders were probably in the low to mid 20s on a lot of these rankings. The value of the Islanders franchise, dead in the middle of the NHL, $1.77 billion, according to CNBC's report, which is a pretty amazing thing. And their revenue was listed as $207 million. So they're in the middle. Obviously, the new arena helps. And I think, they're secure in their television situation right now. We know they're not moving. All of the salary cap all helps. And this team's revenue is clearly up from the days where they played either at Barclays or at the Nassau Coliseum. If you were wondering, the top five right now, the Maple Leafs at $4 billion, the Rangers at $3.5 billion, Montreal Canadiens at $3.1 billion, the LA Kings $2.85 billion, and then the Boston Bruins $2.75 billion. The bottom five, Utah Hockey Club $1.2 billion, the Ottawa Senators $1.18 billion, Buffalo 30th $1.15 billion, the Winnipeg Jets $1.1 billion, and as of right now, according to CNBC, the least valuable team in the NHL, the Columbus Blue Jackets, worth a cool $1 billion. So I think the Islanders ownership would be happy. I think that number could go up depending on if this team can win a few games, some playoff series and do better consistently. But Paul, it's an interesting question. I think ownership will be happy that the value is on the upswing. Next, Timothy from Columbus, Georgia. Are there any other surprises lurking in Bridgeport that could help the Islanders out either this season or next, like Isaiah George? Has your farm watch uncovered any more gems? Good question again. And I think right now, I think the cupboard, I'm not going to say it's bare, but it depends on what you mean by help. Okay? Are there prospects, guys who can step in right now and upgrade this team? Well, I mean, Alex Jeffries has 9 points in 11 games. He's playing well. He's still young. He still has potential, but I think he's a little bit, away, a year at least away from really being able to play a significant role at the NHL level. You've got, other guys who can fill in. That's sort of a thing. Brian Pinho right now is leading the Islanders, Bridgeport Islanders in points. He's got 16 points in 15 games, 10 of them goals. But he's 29. It is not like he is young and a prospect. So, if someone gets hurt and you need to call up someone for 2 or 3 games, maybe Brian Pinho is your man. Maybe Liam Foudy is your guy, or Julien Gauthier. Right now, the two guys who everybody thought were prospects that had a future, William Dufour and Matthew Maggio, both struggling. Maggio, 1 goal, 6 points in 13 games at Bridgeport. Dufour, 2 goals, 4 points in 14 games at Bridgeport. These are not players who are dominating at the AHL level, and therefore, do you really expect them to go and dominate at the NHL level? So I would say that most of the guys who could be called up to help would be stopgap. Okay, somebody's out for a week. We have 3 games this week. I'm calling up Frederick Karlstrom. I'm calling up, Brian Pino or Julian Gauthier. I'm going to see what they have in the tank, and they'll give me, 8-9 minutes for 3 games, and then I'll send them back down. The guys who may have a future, like the Alex Jeffreys, those guys are kind of a year away. And then you have the other guys who are just struggling right now, who also may be a year or 2 away, the Maggios and the Dufours, but they're not really playing well enough to be, ready for prime time. So as of right now, the biggest prospects that the Islanders have are, guys like Cole Iserman, who are playing in college. And they're probably a year or 2 away after this year. But again, are there other Isaiah Georges down in Bridgeport? Probably not right now. So we'll see. But thank you both to Timothy and to Paul for these questions. And again, if you have a question, just email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. Leave your first name, where you're from. We're happy to mention you on the show. Or you could DM me on X. Always good to hear from listeners and viewers. So just get the questions in, and we're happy to answer them. We have got more to get to on today's show. We'll preview tonight's game in Detroit, 7 o'clock Eastern Time start. We'll have our Islanders birthday of the day, all that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Think Connor McDavid will get more than half a goal next week? Austin Matthews on for more than a goal? You can cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this hockey season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. You can become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So tonight, 7 o'clock in Detroit, Islanders, Red Wings, again. One of those teams that is in the fight with the Islanders for one of those final playoff spots. And right now, the Detroit Red Wings are struggling. Now, they are just returning. This game will be their first home game after a 4-game road trip that saw them beat Pittsburgh and then lose to Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. The last game, losing in San Jose 5-4 in overtime. And, like the Islanders, the Red Wings, who are 7-9-2, they're not untalented, but they're just not consistent. They're 29th in the league in goals scored. That has been a big problem. They're 19th in goals against. Special teams are kind of schizophrenic. Their penalty kill is worse than the Islanders. They are dead last right now in the league on the PK, but the power play is red hot. It's third in the league. They score 32% of the time when they have the man advantage, and that's mostly because of the duo of Dylan Larkin with 6 power play goals and Alex DeBrincat, who has 4. And Lucas Raymond, by the way, no goals on the power play, but 10 of his 15 assists have come with the extra attacker. So again, you're kind of looking at a team that has its issues, but also has some really dangerous players. You look at the lineup, Dylan Larkin, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Lucas Raymond make an outstanding top line. Marco Kasper, Alex DeBrincat, and Patrick Kane are the second unit. Andrew Kopp centers Michael Rasmussen and Christian Fischer on the third line, and the fourth line from left to right, Tyler Mott, J.D. Comfer, and Jonathan Berggren. On defense, Simon Edvinsson and Morris Seider are the top pair. Jeff Petrie and Ben Sherratt are the second pairing, and Eric Gustafsson and Justin Holl are the third pair. The goalies, Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon. Right now, Talbot playing much better. He's the primary starter, and he is expected to be the goalie against Ilya Sorokin tonight, although that's not confirmed, but that is the expectation. Talbot, 5-3-2, has a 2.67 goals against average and a 9.20 save percentage. Alex Lyon, 2-4-0, a 3.14 goals against and a 9.03 save percentage. Islanders have to be smart, and they have to finish. They have to finish when they get their opportunities. Look, Detroit's problem right now has been scoring 5-on-5. So, A, stay out of the box. Do not give this dangerous power play a chance to get on track. And then, in the last 3 games, Detroit is starting to find their offensive game. They've scored 9 goals, 4, 1, and 4. You don't want them to get those 4 goals because the Islanders have difficulty scoring too many. So, got to be defensively sound in this game. We'll see if the Islanders could pull it off. Again, it's a 5-game road trip. I said before the road trip, they need at least 5 points. If you at least get this game to overtime, you've got 5. If you win it in regulation or even win it in overtime, you've got 6 points on this road trip. When you consider how many players have been out of the lineup, I'll take that. But they still have to get the job done tonight. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And this is a great one to me. Kind of an overlooked guy who I had the pleasure of meeting a few times. And he's just one of the nicest guys you're going to want to meet. But essentially, Saturday is the 81st birthday of former Islander defenseman Bert Marshall, the Kamloops, BC native, 6'2", 195 pounds, which is really big for a player who broke into the NHL back in 1965, 1966. Started with Detroit, later played for the Oakland and California Seals, where he served as captain. Was briefly a New York Ranger for 8 regular season games and 6 playoff games in 72-73. And then joined the Islanders in 1973-74, where he played for the rest of his career. And then basically became an assistant coach with the Islanders in 78-79, kind of a player assistant coach. Turned to coaching for the Islanders farm club at Indianapolis in 79-80 and 80-81, and then was the head coach of the Colorado Rockies hockey team for part of the 81-82 season. He was a defensive guy. Big, physical when he needed to be, smart in his own zone. In 868 career games in the NHL, 17 goals for Bert Marshall, 198 points, 926 penalty minutes. Did not win a cup with the Islanders, but did play in 72 playoff games, with most of them being with the Islanders. 4 goals, 26 points, and 99 penalty minutes, and he came up with a really big clutch goal. April 20th, 1976, the quarterfinal series between the Islanders and the Buffalo Sabres at the Odd in Buffalo. Series tied 2 games apiece. This is game 5. Now, the Islanders lost the first 2 games in Buffalo, won the next 2 at the Coliseum, so this is game 5. And the Islanders, in the first period, fall behind 2-0, tie it 2-2. Fall behind 3-2 in the third when Dennis Potvin ties it with 4.5 minutes left. And then, with 19 seconds left in regulation, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Bert Marshall, who was not a big offensive guy, comes up with a huge clutch goal to give the Islanders a 4-3 win in game 5. They go back to the Coliseum and win game 6, 3-2, to eliminate the Buffalo Sabres. And remember, the Sabres had gone to the Cup final the year before. Andre St. Laurent and Ed Westfall assisted on the game-winning goal. Bert Marshall had 3 shots on goal in this game, and it did have the game winner. A big clutch performance by a veteran who had been there and done that. Bert Marshall, a critical piece of the Islanders' improvement in the mid to late 70s. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Don't forget, if you have a question, a comment, a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, lockedonislanders@gmail.com is the email. You could also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game, so join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Have a great day, everybody. We're back tomorrow as we preview the weekend's games and have our key takeaways from tonight's game. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.